Welcome back to Lenz Comic Corner Classic / Non Classic. This episode number 2792 and double number 26. Excuse me, 86. First, we're here discussing Justice League America issues 233, the 250, along with annuals 2 and 3, which were the last two annuals ever released for this series, because at the number 3, they didn't release any more. For good reason, because we got canceled not long after this due to low sales. So, we start with the second annual for the series, because that's technically where 230 leads into. This one we have 231, 32, and that story, the ending of that one, that would be around in 237. Now, we have Jerry Conway on the writing duties for this one. Yes, he is pretty much your he's back as the regular head of the team. Yes, after a few breaks here and there, he is back as the writer. He does skip 2 issues in this set of issues. He skips 240. I think like 236, I think. 235, I think it was. Yeah. With the exception of a couple issues, he is pretty much all the writer of all the issues that I'm going to talk about here. Now, the second annual itself, which was released in 1984. This is even before Crisis Universe happened. So, because of what happened with the Earth-Mars War, which the Justice League at this point comprised, the team here in this issue is Aquaman, Martian Manhunter, Firestorm, Santana. We also have Green Arrow, Black Canary, Hawkman, Hawkwoman, Red Tornado. Yes. So, and pretty much in the way, Aquaman announces that the Justice League have announced issue 1, that team is suspended, and he's reformatted the team because they changed the charter to basically where the only time only people could act, people had to be, our members just like had to be full time, can't be part time anymore, because while they with Earth Alien Invasion, half the team was basically gone. So Martian Manhunter, well, he joins the team with this thing. He joins them not long after Aquaman does this. And Firestorm, Green Arrow, Black Canary, Hawkman, and Hawkwoman all leave the team. Elongated Man stays. As for why the heck he stays, my guess is because Conway, he must like the character. Because also, because he's in front of Flash. So, basically, he has it where we have these new people join the team. First, he brings in the character he created over in Action Comics, Vixen. Yep, she joins the team. As a matter of fact, she is the only character who pops up. She's actually the first one to join the team after Reformation, who are not part of the previous Justice League team. And then they decided to go headquarter in Detroit, because they can't headquarter in just the cell anymore. That's been destroyed, thanks to the Earth-Mars War. And we'll get back to that. So, they go to Detroit, where they meet up with, actually first, they're at the UN when they make this announcement. So they meet this guy named Commander Steele. Actually, Steele, per se. His name is Henry Haywood III. And this guy is the grandson of the original version of this character, who is also a Jerry comic character. He does appear a few times in this run. So he brings him to this very elaborate bunker. And this bunker will actually have this base operations for the next year of the team. From this annual up until around 246. Yes, and there's a reason why basically that this happens. So, and in this particular annual, we're also introduced to 2 more characters. They go to Detroit, and we meet for the first time Vibe, who's a breakdancer. This actually is his debut appearance. We also meet an old acquaintance of his, and of course of also Steele's, Gypsy. And she becomes sort of a character, but this character will stick around for the remainder of this run. And then she will return part of Justice League in the 90s as part of Justice League Task Force. Thanks to Martian Manhunter being an acquaintance first. So, they also introduced to an old friend of of citizen of basically steals Dale Gunn, which also Zatanna is part of the roster too, and basically Dale is sort of in a love triangle, or Mare and Zatanna. Mare is Vixen, where they both are attracted to him, but yet Mare strikes up a relationship. Is the first one is basically land the first shot, fire the first shot, basically by making out with him. They describe him as handsome, despite the fact he's got a bit of a gray in his beard. So, and of course, there's also stuff in here. We start off also with, in the storyline, with a Vixen stuff, where we have this General Ox guy who killed Mare's father and brother, who, by the way, at the end of the storyline, she does finally kill him, because there also is this thing in this book where Aquaman wants the whole team to be active, not just the members do whatever the heck they want. That's kind of what he does here. And when it comes to Vixen, she tries to get her to stay out of this whole situation. She's like, "No, this is my personal problem. You stay out of it." And Aquaman kind of sits down, but then Martian Manhunter had to step in, the only unfriended member of the team here, and tells him that he should not do that. This is a personal problem. Let her handle it. And she does. She does kill the guy. Not charged of murder, mind you. So then, right after this, in 237, after the conclusion of this Rebirth story arc, yes, which starts with this annual, and continues on in issue 233. Yeah, basically, if you're now, we also introduced a few new characters. So, like, one is Overmaster. He's introduced in this issue. He's just basically just a villain who's only here for this story arc, and then he returns in Just Like America. He's basically kind of like one of the first villains they fight here. Mm-hmm. Now, in case you're curious, though, Vibe's real name is Paco Ramon. We're also introduced to his sister in these issues, and his brother. Yep, Vibe, sister and brother. I believe that his sister's name is Rosita, and his brother is Armando. Yep. And kind of the way you do with gang war stuff in Detroit. And they're a bit baffled by some stuff here. Also, for instance, in issue 234 of the Cadre, which are kind of, in a way, the first villains that Just Like Detroit fights in these issues. And after this story arc wraps up, they're not seen again for quite a while. It's like they're here for this, like, okay, let's have them fight this one group of villains, and then, like, have it where the very next issue, and then we have Superman, Wonder Woman, and The Flash all come back to the book. Yeah. And they assume they've been gone for a few hours. In actuality, they've been gone for a little bit long. I'd say maybe like a day or two at most. Depends on what time has passed between the annual and this. And they come back and they find that Just Like satellite has been destroyed. And they also discover a satellite put there by the Russians. Yep. They, of course, are not told about this until they meet up with... And then, of course, they meet up with the Just Like Detroit, which, of course, they confront Aquaman of what the heck he did. Like, dude, Aquaman, what'd you do? What happened to the Justice League? Oh, I disbanded them and reformed it as this. And, like, Wonder Woman's like, you don't have the authority to do that. Superman's like, yeah, he kind of does. Because we put on the charter after one of your absences. And Barry himself knew nothing about this at all. So, bit of disagreement at first, and eventually they're able to accept it, no problem. My guess is probably the reason why Conway didn't want these three in the book, and this is my personal theory, I think because credits come up, they probably want these characters focused on their own titles and not in Justice League. So, yeah, let's not have the big players here. So, and they're in the new Justice League, and of course, then they're briefly captured by overseas people. They're around for the next few issues. Yes. The story itself, effectively, well, by the way, General Oxy gets killed off in issue 239. But then, like, pretty much in a way, the whole storyline with the old Justice League being here, that gets wrapped up by 239. But then something really weird happens. 240, which is the only issue of this Detroit era not done by Jerry Conway. It's written by Kurt Busiek, written in the series for the first time. Wow, Mike Swowski. Yes. And this is a flashback issue where it features a past version of the Justice League, where the lineup is comprised of Aquaman, the Atom, Batman, the Flash, Green Lantern, Hawkman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Now, this was weird seeing this. As for why the heck basically this happened for, maybe we can get started with the key. Like, why in the world will we just basically just have an issue we take off from Justice League Detroit stuff for this? I honestly don't have any idea. That or Kurt Busiek basically just felt like it. So then we have the Justice League Detroit go to the Fortress of Solitude. And indirectly they end up fighting Amazo. My guess is that the reason why Conway had Justice League Detroit fight Amazo because it was probably an editorial mandate. I don't really know. I've never spoken to Conway about this. I've only met him once, and he's a great guy me in person. He's a redhead too, but he's a great guy me in person. I met him back. I think it was in 2019. I met him. Yes, because when I met him and he mentioned about something with Vibe, I talked a little bit about this run for Justice League, but I never talked full conversation with him about Justice League. But that's probably the reason why that he featured Amazo, because why not? Okay, and then move on to 242. Now, prior to this issue here, in issue 241, Mare tells Aquaman, "Go look for your wife." He's like, "No." She ever had to leave me. He's like, "Bull crap. Go look for her, dude. You love her." And he does. Next issue, he finds her and he leaves the team. Yes, with 242, he is off the roster. Yes, as for why he's moving the team, I don't know. And then with 243, he's off the team. And also, here's kind of the thing with 243. This leads into the tie-in for Crisis Infinite Earths, where Commander Steel himself was not happy with the Justice League. He was happy to give them his bunker as their base, but they apparently have 9 security codes, and he's not getting access. It's a bit confusing here, and this leads into let's have Jerry Conway make one of his characters into a bad guy. Oh yeah, and gets to fight with his grandson, and his grandson beats the living crap out of him. Oh yes, he does. And this also goes off the space for an issue. Excuse me. Yes. This also features a crossover with Infinity Incorporated. Yeah. By the way, Joe Stanton does the artwork here. It's a very interesting storyline. And sadly put by 246. Before I talk about 246, there is something really important to discuss here. The third and final annual for the series. Yes. The third annual. It is mostly put just... It's more Crisis Infinite Earths stuff with this annual. And it's mostly put basically how... It's the big thing with this annual, it's basically Red Tornado bringing the satellite back down to Earth. Basically, and technology that's there. He brings back to Earth. Kind of basically destroy what's left of it. That's kind of what this big... That's kind of the big thing about this annual. But as for 246, and this is an aftermath of the Crisis era stuff. So, the Justice League Detroit, this issue in a way is the end of Justice League Detroit. This era anyways. Well, being based in the bunker. They've only been there since like the second annual. They've been in this here for they've only been this thing a year, and they're basically locked in our bunker. So Steel breaks in there, gets up with Dale, and it turns out that basically this was kind of deserved because of what happened with Steel. And what did they decide to do after this? Well, they move into Mari's apartment for a couple issues before deciding, hey, let's go back to the Justice League, the Secret Sanctuary. Yes, let's go back to Secret Sanctuary. Which, fun fact, this is actually the first Justice League headquartered at this base since issue 77. Though they actually were here. Now, the last time it was used, they mentioned the book. It was used by the Injustice game back in issue 158. Yep. So they move back in. They fight Despero again. And then we also have Batman rejoin the team. Which, from what I read, this was due to the fact the book was not selling too well at that point. So, let's bring in Batman. Maybe he'll basically boost the sales. It didn't help. The book got canceled about a year later. Yeah, with him basically we joined the roster with issue, I think it was 249, I think it was, 250. So, yeah, and Aquaman's off the team. Martian Manhunter is technically the lead of the team for a little bit. Yeah, he's leader of the team for a little bit. And eventually by 250, Batman officially rejoins the roster. It was a big anniversary issue. Yeah, and Batman rejoins the roster. First time in several years. And it's basically back to being Justice League America with this issue. They're no longer Justice League Detroit. Yeah, and by the way, Luke McDowell does a couple of issues as well. And, well, it's it for these issues for right now. When I come back, this book, it will be discussing the last 11 issues of this series. To discuss, because everything after these last 11 issues has all been discussed. Which means, this series become the very first major series of these comics I mostly reviewed completely at this point. I have not finished reviewing Volume 4 yet for Justice League, but for Justice League America, yeah, this series will be done with that point. But these issues for Justice League America, 243, it's going to be 233, 250, and it was 2 and 3. I give these books here a 10 out of 10. These are actually really good. And now, there's a reason why they decided to add teenagers part of the team. The Teen Titans. Because Teen Titans are so popular, let's put teenagers on the Justice League. That's kind of the reason for this. Moving over to the awesomest that is New Titans. Now, we are going to be skipping a few issues here. We're skipping issues 60, 61, because that's part of Lonely Places 9. We are starting with issue 50, and we're ending with 69. We're not doing issue 70 because that was collecting the first trade for Deathstroke. Excuse me. So, in the first 5 issues of this discussing here, issues 50-54 is known as Who is Troia? There is a woman from Donna Troy's past, which Wonder Woman had saved her from a fire, and saved basically Donna from a fire, and this whole story arc leads into the Teen Titans going to confront the Titans of Myth, and this is kind of like off-world, and really interesting stuff here. There's also stuff here with Raven in these issues too, so they come back, and Danny Chase is being a dick, because basically he can be. And then Dick finds out that Jason Todd has been killed. Yes, it's right after this very story arc that he finds Jason's been killed, and he goes to consult Batman. He tells Batman to get out, and that leads into stuff going on in the Batman book. So, and then two major things happen in issue 55. Danny Chase kick up the team, and Donna Troy stops being called Wonder Girl with issue 55, and is known as Troia, and remained under the code name for pretty much basically her last new code name she assumed. She would never assume any new code name. get a brand new costume out of it. Really good issues. I love who is dying, who's Troy's story arc. It is that damn good. Yeah, and like I mentioned, 55 is basically the pretty much the epilogue. Yes. Also, Beast Boy quit the team. Yeah, and here's also interesting though. Marvel was rated here, but yeah, George Perez rejoined the series as the artist and the co-plotter. Though he would stop doing the artwork with issue 55. He came back briefly, and then we have it where in issue number 56, Gnark, an old Teen Titans character, he dies in this issue. This issue also basically focuses on Guardian, Bumblebee, and Sarah Charles for an issue. And that's kind of, in a way, what it is. 57 basically brings back the Wild Beast stuff. Yeah, this is set up for... Oh yeah, we also have George Perez, after taking issue off. He's back in the art duties this book, and he's no longer doing the co-plotting here. He does do the cover. The cover is amazing. I love the cover by him. Yeah, so we're bringing the Wild Beast here for the next few issues. That's kind of what we're dealing with issues 50, 59. We're dealing with the Wild Beast Society. Yes, for these next 3 issues. We also have Tom Gremma taking over doing co-art duties with George Perez. And then we're skipping over issues 60 and 61 because of the Lonely Place Dying stuff. Skipping straight to issue 62 here. Which Tom Gremma basically takes over the artwork duties full time with this issue here, and George Perez just still does the cover, not doing the interior book anymore. Mostly put the best way to describe issues 62 to 69. It's just a lot of setup for the Deathstroke spin-off book. We debuted this character called Scourge as a really weird alien character that pops up just for a couple quick issues, and that's it for him. Yeah, and Beast Boy rejoins the team, but Terry Long's here too. Deathstroke is basically a supporting character in these issues, but it's like the whole thing with him being here, starting issue 62 up until issue 70, he's basically been reformed, and they do feature him in issue 65. I'll discuss him with 65 as important. It's a really good point about this issue. So it's like the big thing about these issues, it's basically a lot of setup for Deathstroke's solo book. That's what the purpose issue is, 60 to the 69, and then we have the actual, we set this up for these issues, and then issue 70 is the official backup pilot, which bring up the New Titans series. 65 is Dick Grayson meeting up again with Tim Drake. It hasn't been that very long since Lone Place Time. So Batman had sent Tim Drake to go visit Dick Grayson to learn, basically to sharpen his skills as a detective. So he's there just witnessing this stuff, and then he meets Beast Boy for the first time. It's like, you're Gar Logan. I read articles about you. The way you handled that Arsenal case was awesome. And yeah, and bring up a good case like that. I'm not remember exactly which one that one is, but it seems like, though, like with this particular scene, it's like Marv Wolfman is basically where a character he was helped developing this book. Either he didn't create Gar Logan, that was Arnold Draco did that. It's basically him earning his respect. It's basically the start of earning his respect. Which, okay, interesting. But that's the big thing about this issue. It is shocking this was not collected in one of the Batman trades, because it's basically just a tie into to Tim Drake stuff. It's nice to see him. This, of course, is before Fisher comes Robin. And then, for some reason, issue 66 begins this weird story arc involving this guy called Eric Foster. When I saw this guy, I think this guy was Dick Grayson. Believe it or not, he made his debut in issue number 48 of this book. It's a weird set of issues. Yeah, where One point in the book, Eric and Raven had sex, and then the story is called Fatal Attraction. And then find out that Jericho was also possessing him, and the fact he's sort of a cybermath. And there's this detective basically trying to stop him. It's Captain Hill. Yeah, then it's revealed in issue 6-7 he was actually a robot. Yep. Yeah, I thought this two-part would be just plain weird. But it has a really good conclusion to it. Oh, yes. And then we have 68 and 69, where it's a two-parter, where, get this, it is the Teen Titans versus the Royal Flush Gang. And the leader, their financer, like, you think with the cover, oh, is that Joker? No, it's a completely different guy. It's just a guy called the Gambler who people probably think is the Joker. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he thinks he's the Joker, but in actuality he really isn't. And Ace in this book, for some reason, is basically a female. Yes, looks very feminine in this book. Well, I think it was basically like, it wasn't Ace, it was actually one of the characters. It may have been Queen. Maybe it was Ten of Spades, maybe? Yeah, it was Ten of Spades. Yeah. Where, face-wise, she looks a lot like Wonder Woman. Which, we also debut a group known as the 10 Little Indians. It just little kids are basically here for a couple issues. It's a weird idea, something 10 Spades did. They also killed the first 5 of Spades. Yeah, it's an interesting story arc, what it is. And here's the thing, it's not written by Marv Wolfman. It's done by Carl and Barbara Ketzel with Steve Irwin in the artwork. And I believe these two also do issue 6-9 as well. Yeah, it's a brief little 2-part story arc. Here's the question I like to ask. Why the heck this Gambler got this guy himself as a Joker? It made no freaking sense to do this at all. Yeah, and after this, here's the thing. This guy never showed up again. Aside from some entries in DC Comics Wikipedia, this guy was basically like a minor villain. He just pops up for this 2-parter, and that was it. Yep. The 10 Aliens group, they never appeared ever again. The Rush Gang does, but not for quite a while. But that's pretty much the issues in a nutshell. I would say I'm going to give the rating for these issues a 10 out of 10. Not a bad issue per se. I think the only kind of odd-putting about these issues is a little bit of the Wild Beast stuff. This is a one point where Cyborg is basically wearing a Wild Beast costume. There's more weird stuff related to this organization. Explain in the very next story arc here. So, when I get back discussing these two books, for Just Like America, it's discussing the last 11 issues of the book. For Titans, it's Titans Hunt. A storyline that Linkara points to as the beginning of the book's end. Yes, this very story arc. I will discuss this at a later point. But these issues were amazing. Loved every single issue. Even the Wild Beast, I thought that was interesting. Good film there. Okay, so that's pretty much the particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and do not hit the like button. Next up, we have a couple physical trades for some in a while. And, well, then pretty much after that, it's basically, well, who knows after that. I know that in a couple hours, I was hoping to do a stream in an hour, but that's pushed to 8:30, but we'll find out later on, okay? Next video. Bye.